Before we start the video, once again, sorry for the late post. Lots and lots has been going on since yesterday. One track team at sectionals. We did not make it to regionals. We were 5th out of 11. We needed to get top 3 to make it to regionals. So my track season's over. I can watch the Battlehawks games on Saturdays now, although there were only 2 more. It would have been regionals and state, obviously, but I can watch the games now. Unfortunate that I did not make it, but I had fun doing track, so plus I'm only a sophomore, so I'll be able to do it for 2 more years. 2, the ABC was being weird, so I did not well, first, I forgot about the game, first off. Then, second off, when I tried to get in, ABC was being weird. So, I just kind of watched from afar and decided to wait for the highlights to come out. Which, I watched the highlights. We actually looked pretty good today, even on our backup QB. And then third, the Pacers, they win in 7 against the Knicks. I watched that full game. The ABC started working then. Congrats to the Pacers, obviously. Pacers fan. I honestly expected us to lose in 6. So, winning in 7 and making the Eastern Conference Finals is a huge thing for our young team. We're totally going to get swept by the Celtics, but honestly, I don't care. Basically, everything went good today after yesterday's track loss. Except for the Cardinals, because the Cardinals can't win. Even though they won 2 in a row against the Red Sox, they dropped the ball like 11-3, was it? So everything went well except the Cardinals since yesterday. And this adds on to another one of it. Battlehawks win, even with their backup QB, 26-21. McCarron got a little shaken up last week against the Stallions. Our backup QB had to come in then. We put out Malik Williams this week, and while he did not have the best passing game, he had a pretty good rushing game. And that's what propelled our team to a victory, along with a pretty good defense. I liked what I saw out of the defense today, at least in the highlights, of course. 2 picks, pretty good. Also, a bunch of non-4th down conversions. That one fake punt that I saw in the highlights made absolutely no sense. It was like 4th and 12, and you throw it, 2 yards short? Dude gets tackled immediately. Wilkins had a great 4th and 3 conversion near the beginning of the game. I think that's what led to our first touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think it was our first field goal. That was a great 4th down conversion. And then I feel bad for Tiamu, McClendon, and apparently Brooks is probably the punter. Yeah, Brooks was the punter. McClendon had to come in. Jordan Tiamu got injured after a late game sack. We sandwiched the guy, and that led to a 4th and 25, 4th and 15, whatever it was. Hope he can play next week. It won't matter because I believe they're eliminated. But hopefully he can play next week. Feel bad for the guy. But let's get into the review. Malik Williams, 9 for 18, 126 yards. He averaged 7 and his QBR was 72.9. Obviously not, McCarron numbers, but I wouldn't expect him to be McCarron. Also, not like McCarron, he can actually run. Wilkins, 12 attempts for 79 yards. Our leading rusher on the day. His long was 17, and he averaged 6.6 yards. Gallman and Sailors both ran in touchdowns, with Gallman running 2. Gallman ran 9 for 35, and Sailors ran 10 for 27. So, pretty good rushing today. We had a total of 141 yards, more than passing, with an average of 4.5, 3 touchdowns, and the long one there was obviously 17. For our receiving, the longest was Gallman. Again, I believe that was like a screen. I remember seeing one screen where dude almost got sacked. He threw it to him, and then the guy got a long ways down the field. Butler actually led, although Gallman had the 38-yard catch. Gallman led 3 catches for 39 yards. His long was 16. He was targeted 6 times. Everett caught 2 for 22. Sailors caught 1 for 14. Sutherland caught 2 for 13. And Bradley, Mitchell, and Shepard were both targeted. Bradley being targeted 3 times. But none of them came down with balls. And they all got 0 yards. With a total of 126 yards for passing. Long of 38. And 17 total targets. Although he threw it 18 times. Don't worry. That guy's just mad. His team's the Warriors. And he couldn't even make it out of the play-in. While we made the Eastern Conference Finals. That guy's just mad. Don't worry about him. But like I said, 2 interceptions today. One by Kelly and the other by Cole. Cole also leading the day with tackles and whatever SOL means. One day I'll learn what that means. We also got 2 sacks in the day, one being game clinching. They might have not actually counted that sack, I'm not sure. Along with 10 whole pass deflections and 5 tackles for losses. So like I said, at least from what I saw, the defense played really well. So kudos to the defense. He stepped up when our QB was gone. If our QB was here, we're putting up 50 on their heads, to be honest. Also 57 tackles and 37 SOLs, whatever that means. There's also fumbles. Wilkins fumbled, apparently. I don't remember seeing that. And then Cole and Peyton Jones both forced fumbles, but none of them received a fumble. So they forced 2 fumbles, but we did not get a fumble from it. And we fumbled once, obviously. For kick returns, Shepard returned 5 for 117 for a long of 32 and an average of 23.4. And we had 1 punt return for no yards. So, Schmidt, however you pronounce his last name, he kicked a perfect 2 for 2 for 6 points and a long of 37. And Hofrichter punted 2 times. His average was 43.5 and his long was 50. They must have just added longs because I don't remember there being longs. And he was inside the 21 time. Moving on to the defenders. Tiamu, admit, it would have been a pretty good day without the 2 interceptions, obviously. 23 for 40, 196 yards, 4.9 yards per play, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for a QBR of 66.3. Glendon came in through 1 pass. That made 16 yards. Brooks, the punt fake, he was 1-1 for 8 yards. It just wasn't enough as it was 4th and 12. For the rushing, Haggins ran 8 for 37. Tiamu ran 5 for 30. QT ran 1 for 19. Huge play for him. And Harris ran 3 for 3. So he got 1 yard per play. It's pretty good, to be honest. Scott caught 6 for 69. His long was 20. The longest of their day was 30 by Ellis. Scott and Ellis both got touchdowns. Smith caught 4 for 40. Brown caught 5 for 34. Smith with a hyphen. He's special. Caught 3 for 9. Smith caught 1 for 8. Cote caught 1 for 6. Harris did not catch a ball. And Haggins caught the ball, but lost 4 yards. So what's better, not catching a ball or catching a ball but losing 4 yards? You decide. For their defense, no interceptions, 3 tackles for losses, 4 sacks on the day, huge sack numbers. Ramirez and Mince both got a half. Barnes got 1, Fisher got 1, and Johnson also got 1. Along with 3 pass deflections, 3 tackles for losses, 58 tackles, and whatever SOL is, being 29. Fumbles, Tiamu, Ellis, and Roland all fumbled once. I'm assuming it's that one lateral play at the end there. None of them lost the ball, so good on them. For kick returns, Rowland returned 6 for 161 yards. His long was 36. Reynolds had 1 punt return for 13 yards, and McCrane kicked a perfect 2 for 2, as long as 49 on the day, and he had 6 points. And Brooks punted once for 38 yards. Now moving on to the matchup. We win the time of possession slightly with 32 minutes to 28. We had 10 total drives, they had 9. They had 61 plays to our 53. They had 298 total yards to our 235, but they had 4.9 yards per play, while we had 4.4. They had 1 red zone touchdown, we had 3. They had 1 red zone attempt, we had 5. So, when they got into the red zone, they were perfect. They got most of their touchdowns outside the red zone. Well, we got all of our points in the red zone, basically, except for maybe 1 kick. For passing, we obviously got destroyed, 209 to 94, with 25 completions to 9, 42 passing attempts to 18. Although we did beat them on yards per attempt with 5 on the dot to 5.2 for us. Well, they had 2 passing touchdowns and we had 0. They also had 2 interceptions and we had 0. But that's down here. They also... Oh, there's not an also. Forgot no one lost a fumble. For rushing, we did out-rush them, 141 to 89, with 31 attempts to 17 for them. We also had less yards per rush. Well, they had 5.2, we only had 4.5, but we had 3 rushing touchdowns, so there's 0. Like I said, turnovers, they threw 2 interceptions. So what does this mean for the... Shoot. What does this mean for the Battlehawks? Well, it's confirmed. Battlehawks versus Brahmas in the XFL Championship. We already knew that it was Stallions versus Panthers in the USFL Championship. We're just pending home field advantage for both of these teams. Stallions likely got this locked up, to be honest. Honestly, praying and hoping the Stallions beat the Brahmas, because that would put us back to a 1 win lead? Is it? I'll just say 1 win lead. That'll put us back to a 1 win lead, which would be amazing. And be honest, we don't really care about what the Stallions do, or what the Panthers do either. It's just going to be interesting. But if the Stallions lose these 2 games, the Panthers do technically, or most likely, would have the tiebreaker. No, maybe not. They'd have to earn it. The Panthers would have to earn it. I don't think they would have the tiebreaker right now. They play the Roughnecks, so they're going to win that, obviously. So that Week 10 game against the Stallions might be really important for the USFL Championship. If you hear a sound, I'm pretty sure that's thunder, to be honest. But, back to what we really care about, the Battlehawks and the Brahmas. With the loss of the Defenders and them beating the Renegades, which I don't know how you lose to the Renegades. Don't know how you lose to the Renegades at all. Showboats. Sorry, showboats. We have obviously clinched the playoff spot, but the Brahmas also clinches playoff spot. That's going to be our matchup in the XFL Championship. And obviously looking over at our schedule, we play the Renegades. If we lose to them, that'll be a travesty. And then we play the Brahmas to end the season. So that 1 win lead will be crucial. Because if we have a 1 win lead over the Brahmas going into Week 10, I feel like the tiebreakers over the Brahmas would be enough to still give us home field advantage. I'm not too certain, but a win going into the XFL Championship would be important, as obviously we're playing the Brahmas in the XFL Championship. Interestingly, that is the exact same thing with the Stallions and the Panthers. Because they play in Week 10, and then they play in the USFL Championship. So that's going to be interesting storyline for both sides of the coin. But hey, I love to see a team in the playoffs, especially if they want to pull the Pacers and, you know, do good in the playoffs. But that's all I really have to say. Happy that the Pacers won. Happy that the Battlehawks won. See you in the playoffs, because that's going to be very important. And, peace.